Hey everybody. Sorry about the change in scenery here. The battery died, and sorry that the second part's only 4 minutes and 37 seconds, or 38 seconds. Um, but instead, I'm not going to read that whole exposition again. No offense to Dan, but I think that could have been, you could have easily said look up Wikipedia or something, but that's okay. Now, what was I? Oh yeah, this is what it was. Okay. Trying to see. Okay. It basically says in 1307, I'll just start from here. It says in 1307, King Philip IV of France, who according to one historian was itching to get his hands on the considerable assets of the order, arrested and put to death a number of its members on charges ranging from the thrumped up to the spurious. A complaint or complaint or a complaint. I can't even pronounce the name. I can't pronounce the word. A complaint. Pope Clement V disbanded the order in 1312, thus bestowing an air of legitimacy on the king's suppression of the order. This doesn't have much of anything to do with the Wizards of League, but if Ian is going to throw the name of the Templars into the mix, we're entitled to know enough to separate the factual from the fanciful. I can't pronounce the name. Again, I'll provide a link in the playlist, in the boxes. Under other circumstances, Geoffrey would have signed and sealed his death warrant by saying, quote-unquote, no to Naugus. At the very least, Naugus would start shopping for a new apprentice while looking to dispose of Geoffrey at the first opportunity. But Archie isn't about to even hint at such a possibility, thus diminishing Naugus's credit. The comic is content to depict him as being cartoon crazy, CF Rosie, as opposed to being possibly homicidal and out evil. Again, I consider this a pulled punch on Archie's part, as well as a missed opportunity for the comic to acknowledge post-CCA realities. The impending spell Naugus seeks to cast is the centerpiece of the story, which isn't a problem. The problem is we're beaten over the head with it to such an extent that everything else fades into the background. The characters have to work twice as hard to make half as much of an impression. It's not that they don't try. Geoffrey especially is given some prime material to work with here, but there doesn't seem to be much follow-through. His fetal freak-out tried to be a good setup for his meeting with Silver in the park, but the meeting itself felt all wrong. Geoffrey came off as a phony and self-serving, even when giving Silver something he could use. Compared to the two previous issues, there's not a lot of action here. And such action as there is, the group getting suited up, is oversold. This is clearly a development story, but at 20 pages minus the quote-unquote previous page, including the credits, this is thin soup. Head of the story, 6. Head score, 6. Alright, the artistic score. The I score, which is the artistic score. Tracy Yardlin's work is spot on, as usual. Though the lines under Geoffrey's eyes to show the physical wear and tear he's undergoing is a bit of an overstatement. It's nowhere near as extreme, however, as Naugus's case of Bud Ugly. It's nowhere near as extreme, however, as Naugus's case of Bud Ugly. I score 10, so far it's 16 out of 30. Heart score. In other words, the heart of the story, the emotion. As I said, Archie Comics still owes it to us to come clean as to what exactly happened to Hershey. It's called closure, quote-unquote closure. This wouldn't be a big deal if the character in question was an anonymous nobody. But when you do your job as a writer, and as a result the readers actually care about a character, you owe them something. This isn't an issue that can be swept under the loose continuity rug indefinitely. As morbid as it may sound to spell things out, the readers can handle it. Speaking of characters' demise, it would almost be a disappointment if Nagas didn't at least try to kill off Jeffrey at some point, whether it's in this story arc or in a subsequent one. There's certainly a precedent for this sort of thing. The prime example being Voldemort's killing off of Severus Snape once he'd outlived his usefulness. The Nagas-Jeffrey relationship is pretty much in the same position as the Voldemort-Snape relationship, though in this issue Nagas wimps out after Jeffrey blows up at him. Jeffrey and the readers, however, probably know that he's burning through his second chances. For the record, Who's decision to go with the happily oblivious approach makes me suspect him more than ever. And yes, I know he's supposed to be in the covert ops business, but we've seen that fall apart too often in real life. If only after the fact, when the blood has been shed and the dust has settled, example, the killing of Osama bin Laden by SEAL Team 6. So like Silver, I've got my pet theory, and I'll wait to see how it plays out in the run-up to Sonic 250. Heart score is 7. So initially, 16 and 7 is 23 out of 30. So he's giving this second part to Unsung Heroes. I think it's the second or third part. What is it? I gotta go check. Hold on for a second, folks. I'll put the other part over here. Oh yeah, the third part. It's the third part of Unsung Heroes. Basically, he gives it, from what I can understand, a 23 out of 30. Now remember when I said 30 was an A, 25 is a B, and 20 could be a C? Basically plus-wise, A plus for 30-30, 25 for B plus, 20 for C plus. Well, here it looks like he gives him on an average just below 25, just below a B plus. So you're looking at a B issue, a B graded issue. Not a B minus, but B graded, B average issue. So that's pretty good. But if you add that, the 23, let me find it here. Hold on for a second, folks. I'm trying to find it here. Trying to find the scores. Okay, you add the 13 he gave for issue 42 to the 23 he's given for issue 43. You're looking at 36 out of 60. Yeah, 36 out of 60. So when you combine the scoring of both issues for September and October, you're basically looking at issue 42 and 43 of Sonic Universe as being 36 out of 60 altogether. You'd be looking at 60 out of 60 being an A plus, 55 out of 60 being a B plus, 50 being a C plus, 45 being a D+, you're looking basically at a failing something that's below expectations. Basically right now, when you combine these two issues, now I have to go back and look at the score for 41, but whatever it is, so far you're looking at an average of a D, grade-wise, you're looking at a D, maybe F related arc right now. In other words, on the basically borderline failure story arc in Dan Drazen's eyes with the Secret Freedom Fighters. But he has given credit that 43, issue 43 is a lot better than 42. I mean, it's basically got, like I say, a grade average of a B. So that's saying something. There's a huge improvement over 42. There's no doubt. But again, it looks like it's kind of borderlining on whether it's going to, barely pass as good, or it's going to fail miserably, according to Dan Drazen's reviews. And believe me, Dan Drazen is probably not the only one that looks at this. There are other people that review the Sonic comic issues as well. Media Man at DeviantArt, the Media Man at DeviantArt, which is Mixed Fan 8643, does his own little critiques and everything on issues as well, and he gives basically an unbiased look at some of the good and the bad. But anyway, that's what he has to say about it. Basically, his review for the past 2 months of Sonic Universe 42 and 43, Part 2 and 3 of the Secret Freedom Fighters Unsung Heroes arc. So, hope you all enjoyed it. I want to apologize basically for not, doing them, like I've done before, for those that do watch these. The reason was, again, as I mentioned when I was doing the reviews for the Sonic the Hedgehog issues, it doesn't really help when your family is around a lot, when your mom's on vacation, and your nephews and your niece are coming over sometimes, spending the night, spending the weekend or a couple of days. It doesn't really help because you don't get that much privacy, especially when you have a 9-year-old coming in and going, "Hey, what you doing?" Or using his DS going, "What you doing?" Just discovering he can do recording now with it. You know what I'm saying? It's 3DS, that is. But again, I hope you enjoyed this. Comment down below. I'm sorry it's been split up in several parts. Again, I probably would have had this all done for a second part if the battery didn't die in the camera. But again, comment down below. Video responses are greatly appreciated. And I'll talk to y'all later. Take care.